Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your Jack Kemp Foundation President, Jimmy Kemp.
When we first came to Chicago 6 months ago, we went to a church. Well, actually, it was a building. It wasn't a church. A pastor of a church in the South Side opened his doors to Jimmy Kemp from the Jack Kemp Foundation, and he brought us into a building. The building had been donated by Walgreens to this guy who's crazy enough to sit up on a roof to draw attention to an issue that he knew needed to be addressed and needed attention. So this building that had been a Walgreens, it was donated to Project H.O.O.D, and we met a bunch of people from the South Side of Chicago. One of them, Kim Grigsby, who's walking right there from Chicago Community Tool Bank. And we met so many of you because of Corey Brooks and his welcoming us to Chicago. We thought it would be really appropriate to bring Corey here to talk about the next speakers who we have coming. And I know that you appreciate this man of God, this man who loves his family, loves Chicago, even though he's not originally from here, but he is in the community and he's a part of the solution, and he welcomes strange outsiders like me. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Pastor Corey Brooks.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I don't know about you, but I am super excited about this next session that we're going to be in. We're going to be bringing two people out who are going to speak about the issues of the state of Illinois and the things that we're experiencing here in Chicago, and I'm really excited about it. I want to say thank you to the Kemp Foundation for having this event in Chicago. It is so important that we start to formulate ideas and reach out across different sections of the community to reach a lot of different people. So I'm grateful that the Kemp Foundation came to Chicago and came to the South Side of Chicago to be a part of what we're trying to attempt to do in this city. With that said, I don't want to take any time. I want to give all the time that is available to our next two guests. One of them is Charles Thomas, who is a co-host on WVON 1690. You can hear him every morning with Maze Jackson. I want to take this moment to welcome him to the stage, and then he's going to introduce to you the guests that he's going to be interviewing. Let's give them our full attention on today. Thank you.
I love being here at the Jack Kemp Foundation because this is all about opportunities, and I love the mission that we have here, which is opportunity. I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal, progressive, whatever they call you, whatever your label is, we have to be about opportunities. Now, we have a half an hour to be with the governor this afternoon. That means that, and we also are going to have time at the end of our session, 10, 15 minutes or so, to take questions from the audience. So I don't want to waste any time up here doing a Charles Thomas speech. I want to bring the governor of the state of Illinois to the stage immediately so that we can begin this very important conversation. Governor Bruce Rauner. Governor, welcome.
Thank you.
You know, as I mentioned earlier in just those brief remarks, that opportunity is the mission.
It's everything.
It's everything, particularly here at the Jack Kemp Foundation. But let's be real. With people leaving the state of Illinois at a rate faster than any state in the country, how do you sell opportunity in Illinois? What are you telling the rest of the country, the rest of the world, about opportunity in Illinois?
We have incredible opportunity in our state. We are the 18th largest economy. We have the greatest workforce, greatest people, hardest working people anywhere in the world here in the state of Illinois. We're the heart of the American economy. We have one of the greatest cities in the world in the city of Chicago. We have one of the greatest airports in the world in O'Hare Airport. We have the transportation network. We're the hub of transportation and distribution for America. We're the heart of manufacturing. We're the heart of agriculture. We have every reason for businesses to come here and create economic opportunity and grow jobs.
Well, why are people leaving? Why are the businesses leaving?
It's really simple. We are our own worst enemy on two things: taxes and regulations. That's it. Self-imposed failure to create more opportunity. We've been one of the slowest growing states in America for decades. Instead, we should be, and very easily could be, the fastest growing state in America, right up there with Texas or any of the other states.
But despite all that, you have to have been doing something for these 3 years and, 5 months. I mean, tell me about, have you expanded opportunities at all in education, for instance?
Well, so we have made great strides in improving opportunity for everyone in Illinois. Got a lot of work to do, but in our first 3 years, we've had great success. Education, number one area of progress. We've created historic school choice and educational choice opportunities in the state of Illinois. Never been done before. We have now equal funding for charter public schools, right along with standard public schools, so our parents can have choices that choose a school that fits their child the best. We also have created a historic tuition tax credit scholarship program so that we can have our parents who don't have the financial means to choose a school are now going to be able to choose a school, whether it's a standard public school, a parochial school, a private school, homeschooling. Parents deserve choices regardless of where they live or what their income is, and we have historic school choice now available in the state of Illinois.
Healthcare. I mean, any new opportunities during your administration in healthcare over these past 3+ years?
We are transforming healthcare in the state of Illinois. Our Medicaid system, our state-run healthcare system, has been broken in Illinois for decades. Fraud, abuse. Folks who deserve to get proper health care been receiving it, and folks who aren't supposed to be in the program are getting health care. It's been mismanaged and broken for decades. We are transforming health care in the state of Illinois, providing higher quality, more available health care to those who truly deserve it and are supposed to be receiving it. And we're driving more value for taxpayers, making it more efficient and effective and transparent, saving money while also providing much higher quality and more available services.
You talk about improving the business climate. When you were elected, you had 40+ items on your so-called turnaround agenda.
44 points.
Nothing happened. You got?
Oh no, we've got about 10 of them.
You got 10 of them.
Yeah.
Give me a highlight.
Oh, so we've changed procurement in the state of Illinois. Procurement is broken. The system for buying services in Illinois is corrupt and inefficient, and we've begun the process. We've got about halfway through the procurement reform process that we need. That's
business regulation. I know you make it easier now to become an LLC.
No, that's right. We cut the LLC fees. We had some of the highest fees to start a business of any state in America, and we've cut those by 60 to 70%. So we've cut fees, and we've also cut regulations. I created a task force to cut red tape in the state of Illinois, to improve what we call the Competitiveness Council, and we've cut, I believe the number is about 12% of the regulations in the state of Illinois since I became governor. Illinois had twice as many regulations on our businesses as the states around us when I came into office, and we are working that down, so we are going to become competitive with the states around us over the next couple of years.
Illinois, over these past 3 years, and certainly before you came into office, had one of the highest black unemployment rates in America. I mean, it's actually easier, folks, for a black man to get a job in Mississippi or Alabama than it is to get a job in the land of Lincoln.
That's true.
What have you done specifically to address that issue?
So you're exactly right. So Illinois for years and years has had the highest or one of the highest unemployment rates for African Americans. The simple fact is when the Illinois economy is cold, the black community catches pneumonia. The black community suffers the most from the lack of economic opportunity and lack of growth in the state. And I visited with black families in Bloomington where the breadwinner in the family, the mother or the father, was laid off when we lost our Mitsubishi car factory. They were all UAW members, 1,000 UAW jobs lost. And we tried to get another car plant to come in, car manufacturer to take over the plant. No one would come in. No one would even take the plant if we gave it to them because our regulations are so hostile to business and our taxes are so high. And I talked to the black families, what are you going to do? We're trying to give this plant away so we can restore your job so your family can keep your income. And the family said to me, well, Governor, we appreciate all your hard work. We know you're working it for us, but you know what? We're going to move. We're going to leave the state. And I said, really? Don't give up state. And they say, you know, we're going to move to Texas. And I said, well, you're UAW members. I mean, why would you go to Texas? That's a right-to-work state. And they said, that's where the jobs are. And actually, there's more union jobs growing in Texas, which is a right-to-work state, than in Illinois. And factory workers make more money in Texas than they do in Illinois. That's where the opportunity is.
So, Governor, is your attack to this problem making Illinois more like a southern, deep south state, like a Texas or a Georgia or a Tennessee? Is that what you want to do?
No. Illinois is unique. We're our own people. We have our own culture.
From a regulatory standpoint.
What I want is Illinois to be competitive and compassionate. We can be more compassionate for our most vulnerable residents and have a better social service safety net than many states in the South, but we can have the competitiveness of states like Texas and Tennessee, and unfortunately for us, Indiana, which is where most of our jobs are going, state of Indiana, because they're pro-business, less regulation, less taxes over there. Our businesses are going there, and it ain't for the weather. They're going there because of the competitiveness. I want to have the heart of a state like Massachusetts from a compassion point of view and a social service safety net, but I want the competitiveness of a state like Texas.
And you don't want new taxes?
We do not. Crystal clear. No more taxes in the state of Illinois. We are taxed out. We are taxed out. We already have the highest taxes in the Midwest. We already have one of the highest overall tax burdens of any state in America. And anyone who would argue that somehow to get our budgets balanced, we need to raise our taxes, they're hallucinating. That's baloney. It's false. Just ask any of your friends in New Jersey. They've already got huge property taxes like us. They've already put in a huge graduated income tax. Ask them how it's going. They can't balance their budget. They can't pay their pensions. They can't fund anything, and their businesses are leaving the state. New Jersey is already going down the drain that many of our corrupt career politicians want to take us down that drain. We got to fight against them. No new taxes, stronger economic growth. That's the answer to our budget problems.
But many of your political opponents are saying that social services are suffering in Illinois, and they are saying that Bruce Rauner is the reason that those social services are suffering.
Yeah, that's a bunch of baloney. So human services are hurting because we don't have the economic growth. We don't have the money to be as compassionate as we want to be unless we are as competitive as we need to be to grow the economy and have the tax base to afford it. And this is all part, I'll be crystal clear, the impasse in the budget fight. I've just said balanced budget, no new taxes. Balance the budget, no new taxes. Madigan has made it clear 3 years ago. He controls the Democratic Party. The Democrats in the General Assembly, they've had a plan, cause a budget crisis, do not cut the spending, do not have financial discipline, and force a tax hike. Madigan said it.
You only get 3 Madigans here. That's one, okay? That's your first Madigan.
I'll say the Democratic majority.
One other area in which, opportunity-wise, criminal justice.
Yep. We've done historic criminal justice reform in the state of Illinois. Our criminal justice system in Illinois has been broken, as has many other elements of our society. We've had a recidivism rate where more than 50% of those released from prison are back in prison within 3 years. More than a third of women who are incarcerated are back in prison within 3 years. The system is broken. It's not serving safety, and it's not serving justice. We've got to restore justice in the system. And that means not just locking people up for some period of time and then having them learn how to be even more tough criminals, hardened criminals, and come back in the system. Actually treat the core of the problem. Address mental health issues, address addiction issues, and address job training, vocational training issues for these individuals so that they can have productive lives and not resort back to criminal behavior. And we are transforming our justice system and getting great results.
Give me some numbers, though.
We've safely reduced the prison population 15% since I became governor.
15%?
15%.
What about jobs for those people who
are converting our prisons into training centers and reentry centers. We're getting folks job skills, technical skills, interviewing skills. We're helping them with their addiction issues, mental health treatment, getting them on a course where they can leave our correction system and lead productive lives. And we're converting our prisons from just incarceration purely into reintroduction centers.
But Illinois has, there's an image thing that you're fighting here. I mean, you got people leaving the state. A lot of the things that you're talking about, we're not hearing about. It's almost
Don't get me started about the bias in the media and how
well, I don't
want
want to take you there, but I mean, the message, Bruce Rauner is to blame for the impasse in the government of Illinois, the showdown, that you're the problem, not the people you're opposed or who oppose you.
My political opponents laid out their vision for this whole system back in 2015, my first year as governor. My primary opponent, I didn't use a name, said, let's take the income tax back up to 5% to start, and we'll go up from there. That's what they did. They forced a tax hike over my veto. I fought it hard. They forced unbalanced budgets, they forced a tax hike, and now they're proposing an even higher income tax hike as a next step. This was laid out in 2015, this is their plan. And they caused the budget impasse to force the tax hikes. That's what they're doing. So we've got to fight back against that.
You don't want to you don't want to wear the jacket for the impasse. I mean, I heard a guy tell me last night that Bruce Rauner, he's the guy who stopped us from having a budget for those 2 years. Your first 2 years.
All I said was, let's balance the budget. I proposed a balanced budget every year. They ignored it, passed an out-of-balance budget that was billions of dollars in deficit, so that forcing me to veto it, because I'm not going to sign off on deficit spending that causes more debt on the people of Illinois and pushes more jobs out.
Big question.
Financial discipline.
Big question for you then. If, I mean, the same guys, your opposition, we're not going to use their names, but the same guys are in office. What if we can't get a budget this year? What are you going to do politically in that?
Whether the folks who control the General Assembly and control our appropriations will do a balanced budget or not, and we're pushing them hard, we're negotiating to get a truly balanced budget. Whether they do that or not, this election will determine the future course of Illinois for the next 20 years. This election is a critical election, and we're going to make this a pledge election, a promise campaign. We want every member of the General Assembly who's running for the House of Representatives, which controls the budget-making process and the spending process, we're asking them to sign a promise to you and all the people of Illinois. Sign a promise, and don't just talk about it, don't pretend, sign a promise right in front of a TV camera or in front of an editorial board of a newspaper. What does that promise say? It says two things. I promise to vote to put term limits on the ballot so the people of Illinois can vote term limits up or down, and we can get term limits in the state of Illinois. The second promise is, I promise to vote for somebody, anybody, other than Mike Madigan to be Speaker after 35 years, because there's no reason that one person should stay in power for more than 30 years. Sign that promise, and if you won't sign it, that means you're part of the problem, and you should not be elected into office. We need somebody who will sign that promise to change the system.
But is there a possibility that we could not have a budget by the end of this month?
Madigan has indicated that his preference is to, you heard what he said in 2015, raise the income tax back in 2015. I was able to hold that off for 2 years, saved Illinois a lot of money by fighting against him on that, but he got it done over my veto, and then he said, we'll go up from there. He wants more deficit spending so we can force another tax hike and do a constitutional referendum. The people of Illinois are protected by our Constitution. We have a constitutionally protected flat income tax. It's the one policy competitive advantage we have. Madigan and his guy Pritzker want to do a constitutional referendum, take away that protection, put in a huge graduated income tax. They're going to say it's a millionaire tax. Let's tax the millionaires. We'll watch the businesses flood out. But more importantly, every state that's gone to a graduated income tax, the middle class gets socked. The middle class pays more. You can look at what people in Minnesota pay if they make $40,000 a year. Look what they pay in New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, California. You make $40,000 a year, you're not getting rich. You're a middle class, hardworking family. You're paying way higher income taxes under a graduated plan. We can't tax our way out of our problems. We got to stop Madigan and Pritzker on this, keep the taxes down, keep them flat, and lower them, don't raise them.
Your party right now is fractured. This primary, you only won by 3 percentage
I
points?
won 3 points this year. I won 3 points 4 years ago.
Okay. How do you plan to win? What's your pathway to victory here?
The pathway is very clear and very strong, and we're already moving up dramatically. We are going to win. We have a unifying message. What we're striving to do, what we're fighting for the people of Illinois, is a better future for our children and our grandchildren. How do we do that? Lower taxes, especially our property taxes, get our property taxes down and keep the income tax flat and come down. Lower taxes, more economic growth, more good paying jobs, more careers, end the brutally high unemployment on the south side of Chicago and in Rockford, in Decatur, in Danville, in East St. Louis. End the high unemployment by creating more economic growth, transform our economic competitiveness. And number 3, end the corruption and the self-dealing that my political opponents have engaged in for years. Get term limits on the ballot and end the corruption. Get people in office who are there for the right reasons, not to make money, not to get rich by holding political power, but be public servants for 8 years and then get out and move on back to the real world. Those are things that unify Republicans, Democrats, independent voters, everybody. That unifying message, we're going to win.
You don't call it a turnaround agenda anymore. It's not the turnaround agenda anymore.
We have been fighting for the same things as long as I've been, active for 35 years here in the state. I was born and raised here, raised my 6 kids here. I love it. I've built dozens of companies in Illinois. I'm a volunteer. I don't take any paycheck for this. I'm volunteering to turn our state around and make us strong and prosperous in the greatest state and the greatest nation on earth. And we're going to do it by restoring economic opportunity, educational opportunity, education quality, in a better future. That's what we're going to do.
Very good. We are going to take some questions from our audience here, and here's one. It doesn't say who from, but it's a good question. Governor Rauner, what do you think will reconcile race relations in Chicago? Would you be willing to walk life as a mentor with a young man from the inner city? That's the question.
Well, so I'll say a few things about this. I was born in Chicago. I've lived in and around Chicago area my entire life. We have had a lack of equality, lack of equal opportunity in the city of Chicago and unfortunately the state of Illinois for decades and decades. And I'll say, Charles, you know this, when Martin Luther King was here in the 60s, he said he hadn't seen the level of racial division and emotional attacks and volatility in the South. He hadn't seen anything like it like he'd experienced in Chicago. We have a problem of lack of opportunity and equality in the city of Chicago. That's why my wife and I have been dedicated to equality of educational opportunity and equal choice, so that parents, whatever neighborhood they're in, no parent has to get stuck in a school that's failing their child. And that's the reason my wife and I were the biggest funders of charter schools in the city of Chicago for decades. It's the reason my wife has dedicated her life to early childhood education. No child should grow up in poverty where their family is struggling to make ends meet, can't provide high quality child care, and their child, their little girl or little boy, is in a child care program where they're sat in front of a TV set and not given the same educational brain development opportunities that higher income parents are able to do for their child. My wife has transformed early childhood education in the city of Chicago and across America. She leads an organization called Ounce of Prevention. She's in 27 states. She is providing high quality child care programs throughout America for low income kids, so that they're not strapped in front of a television in a car seat. They're read to, they learn their letters, numbers, and colors when they're 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, so when they get to first grade, they're ready to thrive. And she is transforming lives with educational opportunity for people, young people growing up in poverty. And we need more of that in Chicago and across America.
Let's talk, there was a conversation that did not happen during the primary, and it was about pensions. It seemed as though the whole issue of the pension debt crisis, I'll call it that as an understatement, was really not discussed very much during either party's primary. Where are you right now on how you would attack this pension debt crisis?
So we have a massive pension crisis in Illinois. Most people know it's there. It's the kind of the elephant in the room. It hasn't been discussed because I proposed a pension plan that is constitutional, could be done. It would save $3 billion a year. My opponents ignored it. But I did an end run on them, and I said, okay, then President Cullerton, the Democratic president of the Senate, I'll do your plan that the unions actually approved 5 years ago. I'll do your plan. That took all the air out of the room because then they were caught. Then I was saying, I'll just do your plan. It would save $2 billion a year instead of my $3.5 billion. Caught them in a place where they can't talk about it. I'm saying, I'll do yours. Let's do it. So they had to shut up and wouldn't talk about it anymore. I'm on them. And the simple fact is, the President Cullerton would do the plan with me, but my opponent over in the House won't. And so we've got to get him out, and then we'll get it done.
Okay, they want to go to the Constitution to change the way people are taxed in Illinois. Do you believe we should go to the Constitution to deal with this pension issue in terms of the whole diminish and impair pension, that clause?
We could. So it's certainly possible, but I don't think it's very likely. Politically extremely hard to do a constitutional referendum to say, okay, let's blow up the pension system and start over. Politically almost impossible, certainly could try. But I'll say this, even if we did change our Constitution, by fundamental law in America, you can't change historical agreements. You can only change what goes forward into the future. And the simple fact is, even if our language was gone from our current Constitution that protects the existing pensions, you can't take away or change the nature of the historical liability. That's where the biggest problem is. We can change for future work and for future new employees. We're already doing that. We can't dig out of that old hole by just taking away our pension language, protection language. We need to give employees choices to choose to move into a different pension plan by giving them different pay plans and pay options. That's what I've agreed to do with the Senate President Cullerton. His plan would be constitutional. I support it, and we could save billions if we would do it.
Here's another question from the audience. The writer says, you ran for governor promising to run government like a business. Mm-hmm. That promise was made?
Yep.
Okay. Have you done so, and has it worked?
Yep. We have transformed government operations. This won't shock many of you in this room. When I got into office, my first month, I went to see every agency and went into every department. I'd get a standing ovation. In every department, someone would stand up in the back of the room and say, Governor, thanks for coming over. I've worked for state government for 32 years. I've never seen a governor. I've worked for state government for 27 years. I've never seen a governor. I was like, who's in charge here? And they say, no governor's ever come to talk to us. No one has really managed the government process. So, and in many of the departments, there's not even computers. They're still doing things with paper and pen, things that could be digitized and transformed. We are now rolling computer systems, modernizing our computer systems, driving down the cost, driving up the productivity. We've already cut several $100 million out of government operations. We are modernizing the IT systems. We've taken $500 million out of Medicaid fraud. The way the government is run, we're transforming, and we've gotten 18 new government union contracts done that are transformative. We're paying people based upon merit and productivity, not just seniority. It's changing the culture of performance dramatically.
Here's a question. How much money has your campaign invested in recruiting black voters? What is your anticipated budget for recruiting black voters, and will it be reflective of the general population?
So my campaign is just the way I try to govern, for everybody. Doesn't matter what community, what ethnicity, what background. I work for everybody in the state, and I want equal opportunity in education and economics for everyone in the state. And I am strong advocate for the black community, as I am for the Latino community and the Polish community and every community in the state of Illinois. We have allocated our resources, both with my time and our financial resources, equitably all across the state. One of my favorite things to do, I travel 7 days a week. And one of my favorite things to do is worship in a different house of prayer, a different church or a different synagogue or a different mosque somewhere in the state of Illinois every weekend. And on Sunday mornings, I don't go in just to give a speech, I go in to pray and to celebrate our faith. And many times the pastor or minister will ask me to speak. And I'll say, okay, I'm not here to speak, but I'll talk for 2 or 3 minutes. And I always say, the good Lord did not make us Democrats or Republicans. The good Lord put us on earth to do his work, to help each other, work together, and make our world a better place. And we as a people need to come together to create a better future for our children and our grandchildren. This is not about partisanship. This is about the people uniting against a corrupt, political, self-dealing culture, a machine that is taking away the future quality of life for our children. We need to stand against that machine and defeat it, and people cheer. And everywhere I go, people say to me, Governor, stay strong. Don't back down. Don't give in. I'll tell you one quick story. A woman came up to me last year, an elderly woman. She saw me in a grocery store. She walked up to me, grabbed me with both hands she wasn't even 5 feet tall. Grabbed me with both hands on my left arm, looked up at me, and she started to cry. She started to tear up. And I said, goodness, what happened? Are you okay? Are you hurt? And she said, Governor, you're our last hope. Please don't give up. And I started to tear up, and I gave her a hug. And I said, we'll never give up. We're in this together. This is about the people coming together to take on a corrupt political dynasty. We're going to defeat it and bring power back to the people and create a better future.
You know, in the primary, your opponent accused you of being a liberal. Are you a liberal?
I'm called a lot of nasty things.
That's a nasty thing.
I don't do labels. I'm not into.
Okay.
I believe in economic opportunity. I believe in jobs and creating a better future through economic growth. I was a venture capitalist and investor, growing jobs and starting companies for years. I believe in school choice. That's what got me into the political world, was school choice and high-quality educational options and the improvement of our education system through competition. And there are issues that divide us. My wife is a lifelong liberal Democrat. She's proud of it, and I'm proud of her. I'm a free market conservative Republican, and we are united. My wife and I are united on far more than we're divided. And this whole issue of liberal versus conservative, Republican versus Democrat, I just don't buy into that. I think this is about people and opportunity for a better life for people.
Are you trying to form a new coalition in Illinois, something new that maybe the whole country can see and emulate, perhaps?
Well, what I'm hoping that we do together, all of us, especially the folks who believe in opportunity, is create a movement of people coming together to take on a broken system. The system of government, the system of politics in Illinois is broken. We need a movement to take it on. And it's not Democrat or Republican, it's not liberal or conservative, it's not name-calling or labeling or categorizing people. It's the people against a broken system and creating more opportunity for everybody.
Yeah, we got about 5 minutes left. There is I guess a somewhat technical question here from the audience. What are we doing to address the workers' compensation issue that many businesses here in Illinois are concerned about? I know you talked about it a lot during the early years of your term. And what are we doing about that now? Is there anything on the horizon to address the workers' compensation issue that is driving many small businesses out of Illinois?
Well, it is. It's the #1 regulatory problem that we have in Illinois. Our system of taking care of an injured worker. Injured workers deserve to get good health care and proper support. We need a good system for that. In Illinois, though, our system doesn't just do that. We have a system where it's a corrupt group of trial lawyers and judges and arbitrators, along with unethical individuals who will claim workers' comp injuries even though they're not work-related. And it drives up the cost in the system with fraud, but the trial lawyers make a lot of money from the lawsuits and the judgments that go on, and the insurance rates for our companies are some of the highest in America. And we're next to Indiana, where the work comp insurance rates are the lowest in America. So our companies move because they can save millions of dollars in insurance costs. And the health care provided for workers is not that much different between Illinois and Wisconsin, and Indiana or Wisconsin. But the insurance rates are much cheaper over there because it's not full of the fraud and abuse and illegal behavior, or I should say unethical behavior that we have in Illinois. So we need to change the system. We haven't been able to change it so far. We've been advocating, fighting, trying to get regulatory relief. I remind everybody in Illinois that the Democrats in Massachusetts, Democrats, not Republicans, changed their workers' comp system, ripped the corruption out of it, and took workers' comp rates in Massachusetts from some of the highest in America to average and very competitive. And we can do the same thing here.
I'm going to save, we got a couple of minutes left. I don't know how long you want to go on it, but because you haven't gone very much, haven't talked about it very much during your time in office, but how's Donald Trump doing?
So the president is somebody that I work with. I work with President Trump just as I did with President Obama. My job is to work with the White House and in Congress to make sure that the people of Illinois, the best interests of our state, are represented in the actions coming in Washington. I applaud what the White House and Congress have done to cut taxes. The tax cut has led to more jobs, higher incomes, higher pay, and more economic opportunity, and I applaud that. That was great progress. I also applaud the regulatory relief that the Trump administration is bringing. They're cutting red tape, reducing regulations, encouraging free enterprise, and I applaud that. I think that's a great step in the right direction. Some of the tactics being used in our trade negotiations, we'll see whether they work. I'm not in a position to
well,
comment
but
on
Illinois
those.
has a lot at stake in those tariffs and such.
No, for sure. There are people on both sides of the economic aisle who are upset about some of the strategy being used in the trade negotiations and tariff fights. And I'll just say this, I'm a believer in trade as a source of economic growth and economic opportunity, and exports as being a huge engine, especially for businesses and jobs in the state of Illinois. That said, I think we all got to be realistic and understand there's really no such thing as free trade. It doesn't exist. There's fair trade and there's unfair trade, and even with Canada or Mexico or places we have the North American Free Trade Agreement. It's not free trade. It's not open. There's regulation and tariffs and biases built in all of our trade agreements, and many of them should be redone, and I support that.
Very good. We've been talking to Governor Bruce Rauner. I see our time is up,
Okay.
and I've enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you, sir. I
And
appreciate it.
I know
Thanks,
we're going to be hearing a lot more from you over the next 6 months.
Okay. Good to be with you, and thanks for supporting economic
Thank you so much.
opportunity.
Governor,
Thank you. Yep.
thank you, Jimmy.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Governor, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for all your great work.
Well,
Thanks for your leadership.
We appreciate your leadership. I've told everybody how a high calling running for office is and being in office, and we appreciate you welcoming us to your state and look forward to being here more. And that's what I'm going to talk about as you guys go do what you got to do.
Very
so
good.
thanks so much for being with us, Governor.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
So to close out this wonderful day, we want you to continue. We've got this room for the next hour or so. You're welcome to stay. Chef Danny, that was awesome. My mouth just exploded. Was it gazpacho? I don't know what. Oh, ceviche. Yeah, I know ceviche. That was awesome. So, listen, we've got a lot to do. This day has been wonderful. You've heard from a wide assortment of people with expertise in different areas, political leaders. I think we know what our charge is. Do your job. Do it with passion. Do it with love. We know that government is not the answer. Ultimately, love is the answer. And love includes creating businesses. It includes doing the things every day that we have to do to provide for our family, to raise children, to take on a chess team to coach. Find your passion, find your talent, and go do it. So, here's what we're going to do going forward. For the rest of today, I want everybody who had a booth, first of all, thank you to everybody who manned a booth for your work and being there. Everybody should know that the signs that are made, those are yours to keep, and hopefully you can reuse those for other marketing purposes to let people know about your good work. The booths will still be here afterwards, and if you haven't had a chance to go through there, please go through there. We will be sending an email out on Monday that has the link to the video of today. It'll be truncated so you don't have to hear all my rigmarole. There will also be on our YouTube page, the Jack Kemp Foundation YouTube page, there will be the full comeback series, which you saw a snippet of before Buster Stories and Speaker Ryan spoke. So we definitely want you to stay engaged with us. We will be sending you an email that has those links and also has a survey. You know what? Give us till Tuesday. It may be Tuesday. But by Tuesday, you'll get an email from us. It will have a survey on it, and we were going to want you to stay engaged with us because for the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, we've got a lot of things to do follow-up on from here, a lot of relationships that need to be cemented. And one thing that Jeff Kemp told me is he wanted me to tell you all to cheer for each other. Make sure that you talk about the organizations that you saw here. Tweet about it, do whatever social media you can do. But that's how we help each other win, by talking about how incredible these organizations who are doing this good work, how incredible those people are. So cheer each other on, keep those relationships going. You'll get the email, respond to the survey. And I was just told by Todd Ricketts that for those who are engaged in this effort from the community, that the Chicago Cubs have tentatively scheduled, it was just done today, but they've tentatively scheduled September 14th to give community members who are engaged in this process with Together Chicago, Project H.O.O.D, and the other groups, they're going to give us, I believe, 100 tickets to the Cubs game on September 14th, which we will go to after we have another meeting talking about how much progress we've made over these next 90 days or however many it is. So Todd and Sylvie Ricketts, thank you so much for everything. Hopefully the Cubs will be in first place and be in a great pennant race. We really appreciate your time. It's an incredible investment of time from you. Thank you. I hope it served you well. We're grateful for everybody who put this together, the Garrity for hosting, and go and God bless. God bless America. Thank you.